That's Mitesh here. I'm just going to show you some tips on using template specs. We can use them to deploy things into an environment. We can give them to users, kind of abstract some of the technicalities for the users, and we can actually have a bit more control over what actually gets deployed. So with that, I'll just show you what I mean. So if we look at, say a user wants to create a VM, for example, there's lots of ways to do these things, so this is just one of them, and kind of a, a way to manage that better. So if we just look at this, and the first thing they're faced with, there's a lot of decisions, and some of them are quite technical. So they're like, and you'll see a lot of users see things like this. What is a DS1v2? Absolutely no idea. We've got all these. We've got a whole list of extra sizes, and this can also be confusing for users, but it can also give you inconsistent environments, and of course you can control all that as well with policy. But we've also got regions. Again, a lot of this you can control with policy. But then you've got things like allow RDP. So it allows users to, if there aren't any controls and guardrails in place already, and which there should be, but there's still many environments that don't have any of that. So it's worth checking. So a lot of environments out there still today still allow users to go and do whatever they like, which is quite scary. So here we can allow public endpoints into our VM. What kind of disk? So you'll see here the default is premium SSD. Now you may not want all your users to be using premium SSDs. Also, when it comes to networking, we've got decisions like, okay, where do you want to, which network do you want? So they've got to make sure they select the correct network. Otherwise, again, if they've got permissions, it will go and start creating new networks all over the shop. And what about NSGs? So again, there's a lot of technical information in here that the users may or may not really care about, and therefore you end up with some defaults that you may not want. Okay, and again, there's lots of stuff in here. So what we can do to tackle that, one of the ways, of course, there's many. So one of the ways we can tackle that is to use something called template specs. Now I'll show you what that is. So that's basically just an ARM template. So generally you deploy by code, and you may have a front end for users or whatever. But here we've got an ARM template. So if I just quickly show you this, so there's an ARM template. So if you saw some of our infrastructure as code videos, you'll see what an ARM template is and how to build it. So this has got some options in for the user. So I won't go into the technicalities of that template right now, but what I'll do is I'll show you how easy it is, and to how to abstract some of that technical info from the users. So what we can do is here, let's just put a search for template spec, and we can find that here. Let's just create a template spec. And what do we need to do there? So we'll call that create VM, for example. I'll put it in my sandbox. I'll put it in UK South. We can give it a description here. We've got to give it a version number as well. So let's call that 1.0. Okay, and let's do edit template. So I'm going to paste that into here. You can see I've got some environments here. What I'll do is I'll just change that to a lowercase. I'll show you something later. And then we'll do a review and create that. And that's going to create me a template spec. Now what you can do is you can give your users access to this template spec instead of, so ask them to create using this. And when they do that, they'll see something in the portal, and we can see we've got a production network here. So we've got a network that already exists that we may want them to use. We may have a dev network in a different subscription and different, entirely different resource group as well, obviously, because it's in a different subscription. So just wait for that to show, and I'll turn up in a second. Here we go. So we've got a create VM. So now all the user has to do is click on here and click deploy. Right, now they can select their subscription, so of course they should only have access to the subscriptions and resource groups that they're allowed to deploy into, and then they can give it the name from here. So let's just call that test. And instead of selecting the networks and all the subnets and everything, what we can do is we can just present them with, okay, do you want production or development, for example? So let's say the user wants a production one. What's the platform, Windows or Linux? And the size. So instead of looking at, where we saw the DS1 and the B1s and all those different SKUs, that we can just say, all right, do you want a small or large one? At the moment, I don't see a way to have more than two settings. There probably is a way, and also there isn't the referencing for the passwords for the key vault doesn't seem to be there right now, but that may come, or I might have just missed it. So basically, what we've got now, we've got some abstraction from the technical aspect, so the users don't need to know network names or RDP ports or NSGs or anything like that, because we cover all that in the background in the template. So let's go and just create this VM. Okay, so while that's just cooking over there, it doesn't take long at all actually. I'll just quickly show you through some of the code here. So I mean, there's quite a lot going on here. So we can see some variables here. So if they select small, we've got a specific size that they're going to pick. If they do large, same. And we've already got the subscription IDs, we've got the resource groups, and then the whole part about the choices are in the if statements here. So we can say if they go with Windows, use these variables. If not, use Linux. The same for things like when we saw the size. If they've picked small, use a small variable size, or the large. So that's how we can abstract some of that information there. And again, if they select development, we would select, okay, go into the development subscription resource group subnet and go put that VM inside there. And in terms of security, we've got access to all the NSG things. So we can just, in our template, we can say we've got a NIC, but in here we see we don't have any public endpoints, so we generally control that outside of the NIC anyway. And we've got all the boot diagnostic stuff in here. And here the storage tab, so we're just going to give access to standard LRS, for example, right? So they're not picking default premium SSDs and all kinds of stuff in there. So so basically we're not giving all the choices that they could possibly have. We've already got a standard that we use for our organization, and the users can then just go pick the settings they want and off they go. And it's really good for storage and things like that as well. So if we can see, the deployment was complete. If we just go to the resource group again, and then we can see I've created my VM. It's gone into, I'd split that out a bit more than that, but just for this demo, we can see that VM's gone. You can see the size. It's in my production network. It's in the right subscription, in the right place. So yeah, that's kind of how that works. So if you notice what I'll show you one thing here. When we go to deploy, we can see we've got all these, we've got these informational things. So these are descriptions that we can put in. So if we look at here, so you see this VM size thing, it's a bit messy there. So what we could do, we could, and you can control that as well, these spaces, and that's done via, and you see the comments here. So what we can do is we can just create a new version. So when you create a new version, if you want to edit it, do 1.1, for example, and then just go back into your template and look at your variables here. And even like if I go to my VM size here, I'll use that VM size. So capitalizing it puts the space in there basically. So I'll select, let's give it a bit more information. Small or large. Okay, let's just save that. And now if I go to deploy again, I can see that's now formatted correctly, and I've got a bit more detail in the thing. So that's kind of how you can edit it and just work with it. So yeah, again, it's just a nice simple way of giving users less steps to do and just kind of abstract some of that technical stuff from them. So yeah, so that's it. So we'll do a blog, and I'll share the code as well on our repo. So I'll put the link in there. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you found that useful.